So a little while ago I built a pantry in our kitchen because there wasn't one in this house beforehand, and then we wanted to do a little bit of a different door. We wanted to do like a custom door for the pantry. So we also had a section of our fence we ended up tearing down. So I'm now going to start sanding down the pieces so we can actually use it to make a sliding door for our pantry. So hopefully it turns out good. Hey, River, say cheese.
Cheese.
You taking a video, River?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
Cheese.
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 River's getting in the spirit. Good job. I am actually sanding down these boards with a palm sander. I considered getting a belt sander to sand them down, but these are part of my existing fence, so they were kind of like warped and weren't exactly straight. I didn't want to lose that because I wanted to keep the weathered look that they had. You having fun over there, River? You doing okay now? You swinging, River?
They push you.
My daddy come push you?
They push you.
Swing. 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 My dad's gonna get covered in sawdust.
It's right back.
I'll be right back, yeah.
So right back. So right back.
Yeah.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, River. River, what are you eating? Pick it up, pick it up. Carry it around over there. Yeah, right there. It goes right there. Thank you, River.
Papa. Wow, that's the pie.
Well, it was getting late, so I went and put River down to bed. Now I'm getting back to work while there's still a little bit of light left, and it's not too late, so I don't bother our neighbors with all the noise I'm making. So, here we go. After I had pulled all of the boards off of the fence that had fallen down in my yard that I was going to use, I noticed that the boards weren't actually tall enough to completely fill they weren't tall enough for the door I wanted to build for my pantry. So what I ended up doing is I had to cut those down, and then I searched around online until I found some additional similar fencing material that somebody had pulled down off a fence, and so I just kind of combined theirs with mine. I was then able to build the door in two sections, which I was able to make shorter than my original pieces, and I was able to combine them with a center rail. I have personally found that while doing construction, it helps to have something to listen to. So listen to music in the past, or I've been listening to a lot of books on tape recently, but tonight I'm listening to some Critical Role, which is, they have a bunch of like voice actors, like comedians that play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's really funny to listen to. So yeah, that's what I enjoy. Here at this house I don't have a garage or like a place where I can work, so I was working outside when it was light, and now that it's inside I come into our disaster room that we're trying to fix up here, which is really just where it will eventually be turned into like a nice laundry room, but since that hasn't happened yet, it's our kitty litter and storage and where we keep our paint and where we work on projects late at night. So I don't want to stop yet, so I'm going to keep working. So I'm going to bring everything in here now. This sanding session ended up stopping sooner than I had imagined because air quality got pretty bad down there, because you can see it's not a very big room and I didn't think to open up the window. So once I got sick of coughing enough times, I decided to call it a night. All of my work sessions basically started when I was working on this door after I got home from work. So it was always late at night when my kids are getting ready for bed. And I know they would love to come and help me out, but it was always at a time when they were already getting their pajamas on, which is too bad. Okay, go get another one, or go get another screw.
Daddy's screwing some nails in.
Eric, can you grab me a screw?
Give him another one.
Not the whole box, just one, River. Just one. Yep, just one. Here you go. Get out here, River.
I play swings.
You're gonna go play on the swings.
Yeah, so I was going to do both ends, just drill through and get them set. And I wasn't going to do anything else until we got it all squared. Then I would drill the rest once we had it in the right spot. And now we're going to get the squares here, so we're going to go...
These or that?
Huh? First we're going to square just this top half, because this is two separate pieces. So I had to build the door in two separate pieces, again, like I said before, because I had to, my boards weren't long enough for my fence, so I had to get some additional lumber that was a close match, and then I had to cut down each piece to fit one of these two sections of my door, and this allowed me to build it out of two sections, which then I was able to secure to each other with some side pieces that ran from top to bottom. Give it some good rigidity, and then I also had a rail going across the middle that I used to secure each part of the lower and the top halves of this door too. Yeah, so start with that. Work on these. I kind of had to lay it all out here and make sure it all looked good and all was the same dimension both on the top half and the bottom half. But then when it came to actually checking for square, I had to check for both halves, so they were now two halves of the door that I had to support with a couple of straight pieces that ran from top to bottom to give the whole door some good rigidity. Yep, put it forwards, hold on to that again, and just let it suck itself tight. With the old drill guns, you actually have to get like a ratchet in there, kind of tighten it up. But now,
So that's good.
Yep.
Okay.
I never knew like how nice having these lights on the front of these things are until I had a drill that had them. A lot of times you're drilling in areas that it's just dark and I can't really see. This is the first door that I actually assembled, and as you can see, it took us a little while to even put the three rails on it, the top, the bottom, and that middle one that holds the two sections together, and we just didn't want to stop till at least that was done. So we kept working through the night, as you can see here. It wasn't through that late, but we kept going when it got dark. I realized the morning after we had assembled the top, the center, and the bottom rails on that door that I had forgot to cut the center rail short so I could run a board from top to the bottom of the door to give it extra rigidity and extra strength. So I had to take that apart, and you see here I'm reattaching those side boards. I am squaring these two sections again since I had to remove that centerpiece. The technique I'm using for squaring is I measure from one corner of the rectangle to the opposite corner of the rectangle. If I get the same measurement, then that rectangle or that square is completely square. There's a couple different ways to do it, but that's the method I'm using here, and it works really well for this kind of scenario. So I fortunately have just enough space to work here on the doors in this room, but since I work late at night, this works well. So now I'm assembling the frame to support basically of the door. So once you put these cross pieces in, it really makes it start looking a lot better. So I love looking back over this and seeing just how that changes the look of it from just having those 3 rails to having it look like an actual door. So this day I am actually going through and drilling in some additional screws from the other side of the door just to suck up any gaps that didn't get closed up when we were initially attaching the top plate and the bottom plate to this door. And I'm trying really hard not to drill through it and into my floor, because that would not be good. This was all kind of happening as we were getting ready to move out of this house, because that's when you always fix up your houses, right, when you move out of it. But what we ended up doing was a polyurethane, water-based polyurethane coat on here. I didn't end up staining it at all. I left like the natural look with some of like the old existing paint colors still being left on the boards itself, whether that was from my fence or from the other section of fence. I think it's kind of cool with having a couple variation even in like paint colors that was still on there from before. So we just did the polyurethane to kind of seal it up to make sure there weren't any additional like loose slivers that could ever come out and hurt anybody. Scared, River? Yeah. It's looking pretty good. And here's the finished product. And I was really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really good, and I'm proud of it.